Okay, so let's dive into a really fascinating and honestly a pretty tough topic. It's this paradox that sits right at the heart of the entire global tourism industry. It's an industry that sells us these beautiful, pristine, natural wonders, but it's also a major reason the climate is changing and threatening to destroy those very places.
Right. This really gets to the core of it. The very thing we do to go see the world, well, in a lot of ways, it's fueling the forces that are actually unmaking it. So you've got this industry that's a huge cause of climate change. And at the same time, it's one of the first victims. It's a real double-edged sword.
So, just how big of a footprint are we talking about here? Well, get this. Around 8% of all global greenhouse gas emissions come from tourism. That is a massive number. And it covers everything, from the long flights to get there, to the food you eat, to the souvenirs you buy when you're on vacation.
To really understand how this paradox plays out in the real world, we're going to zoom in on a specific case study. We're going to look at a country whose entire global brand is built on this promise of untouched nature, New Zealand.
Yeah, we've all seen the ads, right? 100% pure New Zealand. It makes you think of these epic landscapes, clean air, pristine wilderness. And tourism was New Zealand's single biggest export before COVID. But there's a growing disconnect between that pure, clean image and what's actually happening with the country's climate.
And look, this isn't just a feeling or an opinion. According to the Climate Action Tracker, even though New Zealand declared a climate emergency back in 2020, its actual policies are rated as highly insufficient. A huge gap is opening up between the brand and the reality.
And this data kind of shows the national challenge. Now, agriculture is the biggest emitter, for sure, but transport makes up 17%. And for a remote island nation that really depends on long-haul flights and rental cars for its tourism industry, well, that is a major, major hurdle. Okay, so let's bring this down from the big national picture to a super local story. We're going to go to a place called Banks Peninsula, where that abstract threat of climate change became a very sudden and very destructive reality. So this is where we are, Banks Peninsula, on the east coast of the South Island. It's a spectacular place, just known for its wildlife sanctuaries and nature-based tourism. I mean, this is the kind of destination that is the absolute heart of New Zealand's appeal to travelers.
But in December of 2021, the climate crisis basically came ashore. An unforecasted, incredibly intense storm just slammed the peninsula. The flooding caused these massive landslides, which physically cut off entire communities. And get this, it took a full year just to get the roads back to where a normal two-wheel drive car could use them.
The contrast here is just, wow, it's so stark. On the left, you've got this peaceful map of the bays. But on the right, you've got satellite images from after the storm. All those white scars you see streaking down the hills, those are landslides. The very landscape that tourists fly across the world to see was literally torn apart as a direct result of an extreme weather event. And the immediate human impact was just devastating. As one local tourism operator said, this storm simply took out the roads. And with no access, their businesses were just completely shut down. Their livelihoods were put on hold. Instantly. And the damage went so much deeper than just the infrastructure. A local conservationist talked about this whole cascade of ecological problems. Habitats were damaged, fish populations dropped, and access to predator trap lines, which are vital for protecting native species, was just destroyed. The actual nature in nature-based tourism was being severely degraded. So this crisis on the ground really threw a harsh spotlight on this massive gap between official government policy and the lived reality for communities that are right on the front lines of climate change. So officially, the New Zealand government is pushing this very progressive-sounding idea, regenerative tourism. And it's a wonderful concept, right? The goal is for tourism to give back more than it takes, to actually improve the places that visitors come to enjoy. I mean, on paper, it sounds like the perfect answer. But what did that actually feel like on the ground? Well, one local operator called the official response pathetic. They described a situation where, long after the storm, basic things like mobile coverage and emergency response systems still weren't sorted out. That lofty idea of regeneration felt like it was a world away. And on a local level, the paradox just keeps going. In the Christchurch district, which includes Banks Peninsula, transportation is the single biggest source of emissions. We're talking 54%. The very industry being hammered by climate change is, locally, the biggest contributor to the problem. The disconnect in the official response is just so clear. This word cloud here is from the Council's own summary report about the storm. You see words like community and response, which makes sense, but look closely at what's missing. The words tourism, livelihood, and climate change are literally nowhere to be found.
And this breakdown is even clearer when you look at the strategy documents themselves. The Christchurch Climate Resilience Strategy was actually developed in 2021, right before the storm hit. But in the entire 40-page document, the word tourism, the economic lifeblood of the area that was hit, is mentioned only once. Just once.
So you can imagine how this failure to connect policy with reality has created this deep sense of cynicism. As one community advocate said about a later planning process, it felt less like a real effort to solve problems and more like a rubber stamp for another marketing campaign. There's this feeling that the real, tough issues just aren't being addressed.
So with this huge gap between the words and the action, what is the path forward? Not just for New Zealand, but really for tourism everywhere.
The core challenge is pretty clear. Tourism is both a victim and a culprit of climate change. You've got these high-level global commitments, but as the bank's Peninsula story shows, what happens on the local level often fails to match all that talk. And this gap, it puts communities, it puts livelihoods, and it puts entire national brands at risk.
And that leaves us with this final, really crucial question. When the official strategies are so disconnected from the reality of mudslides and closed roads, who's responsible for building the bridge between them? Is it the governments, the industry, the communities themselves? Or does some of it also fall on us, as travelers, to demand a whole lot more than just a pretty picture?